And each one of us has the ability to imagine a world where that's possible. We don't have to worry about overpopulating. Look, if God can do all that he's done, okay, in laying out this universe, having control over everything, all these dynamics, these very powerful dynamics he has control over, then he can darn well prevent overpopulation. Okay, we've got to trust the right master here. We can't have two. And this all, as you can see, it all relates to faith. You've got to have just the faith to believe, of a mustard seed. It's just like believing there's always going to be mystery. We're always, forever going to be trying to understand the mysteries of the universe and how wondrous it is. And that if we just take a moment and ponder the character and nature of this God through prayer, through our thinking, through doing something. These are works. This is faith in action, is when you pray and take time to imagine and commune and have relation with the God, the sovereign owner. Your creator God owns you. This is the master potter. And he can recycle us as he chooses. He can do whatever he wants because his name is righteous and vindicated. He's not a liar and a truth teller at the same time. These things are inconsistent. God is very consistent, and he can't lie, and he's only good. He can't be both good and evil. He's only good, and he's only out for our good intentions. He cannot be out for both our good intentions and bad intentions. It doesn't make any sense at all. There's laws of attraction like male and female and the opposite poles on a magnet and electricity, the negative, positive fields of electricity and gravity. All these things work by laws of attraction, or in some cases repulsion. Like if you take electricity the wrong way, you're going to get sparks if you connect the negative and positive wrongly. And same way with magnetism. The opposite the poles turn toward be the same. They repel, and you can see that in the male and female too. Naturally, we gravitate toward the opposite, But when it comes to understanding evil, these two do repulse each other. These are inconsistent. It's like oil and water. They don't mix. They can't blend. It's like light and darkness. One has to dominate at the end of the day. At the end of the day, the water in the stream of our heart that we share with God has to be one of the other. It's either bitter or it's fresh. And nobody can make that choice but us. Only we can decide to understand God on the level that he wants us to understand him. To understand how profound is the power in the message to love our enemies. I mean, what is God saying? That he's a pushover? That he's an idiot? No, we've got to understand that when you love your enemy, not so much from your lips, but from your heart, what you are really tapping into is very powerful. And it's very freeing, because if you got to walk around with hatred, animus that your enemy invented, that he knows that you're going to feel that repulsion. You're a righteous, decent human being, and you want good to prevail on earth. You want justice and mercy. You want all good things for you and your kids and your lineage, for the future generations, and you want to do your part in bringing that about. God understands all that. And that's what he wants. And he's working with any of us that decide to spend time with him to understand his character. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to understand he is the source of happiness and the only source of happiness. That it is by grace, it is written, through faith that we are saved. And also, again, it is stated that faith without works is dead. So we all should understand the gravity in understanding these basic concepts of faith. That it's very important to exercise that faith through prayer, through thought, meditation, through just spending time with that still quiet inner voice that we all have equal access to, that loves us all equally and doesn't play favorites. That understanding that we are the most valuable commodity on earth. We are God's treasures. We, being friends, that's what he's after. He's after our essence. our heart and our soul, our spirit, our mind, our affections, our attention, our homage and rightful respect and reverence for this God, and to try to imitate God. And this is where, Shakespeare saying that the whole world is a stage and we're all actors upon it. This isn't to be phony, but isn't it written that we should imitate God, emulate God, try to be like God? Does this mean arrogance? Does this mean we're competing with God? No, not at all. It just means we're trying to be proper representative, proper reflections of the true Spirit of God, and realize this is the source. You want freedom? That's a source of freedom. We all have to really be very honest with ourselves and ask ourselves the most fundamental question. How different would this world be if you just removed one thing, and that is that false God, the God called money, the God of this world, the root of all evil, the love and reverence and respect and fear thereof of this God is the root of all evil. Everything. It affects us in so many ways. I could go on all day, but a few that come to mind right now is that maybe a lot of people don't see is romance. Think of how many divorces are a result of financial problems within the marriage. Let's take abortions. How many women would abort their baby if finances weren't a concern? Let's take prostitution. How many women would sell their bodies if they didn't need the money? Let's take pornography. How many people out there would engage in pornography if it wasn't for the money that they would get from it, if they didn't need the money? How much crime, period, drug sales. You'd see all these very pernicious drugs slowly dissipate. They'd go away because nobody would deal in them. There's no profit motive. You see, you take away the profit motive of all these things. All the patents that could be released out there, because no longer is anybody being oppressed because of money. Just take money out of the equation, folks. It would solve all of humanity's solvable problems. It's not going to take away death and disease. All these horrific things that all of us have to contend with, all the worries we have on a day-to-day basis that are legitimate, like worrying about our kids getting in a car accident or running over a pedestrian. All these concerns that, we can only take to one place, to God, to help us to cope with these very real concerns every day. So we've got plenty enough troubles, plenty enough worries without this incessant nagging burden that the God of this world has put on us. It's literally like we're all being held hostage in a prison planet. Okay, if you don't play the game, then it's backed with a threat of incarceration and lastly violence. And that's the way it operates. That's the way the people of this world, those that love their lives of this world, that are pro-establishment, pro-keeping the status quo, all these people are on the same side. Whether you admit it to yourself or not, whether it's witting or unwitting, you're going along with the system. Understand, this is evil. This is the beast system, and the spirit of Satan is at the very top of this thing. And that's a matter of fact. And a lot of these people are open Satanists. They're depopulationists. These are elitists. These are definitely hypocrites. These are the ones Jesus went off on. And we're not to be like these people at all. We're not to trust in them at all. But we've got to understand how profoundly different our paradigm, our reality would be, how freeing that would be, and who is the source of understanding how to get to that freedom. It's God that put it in my heart, that put it in your heart, your mind, to understand these concepts, these very basic truths that are all around us, yet they seem to evade us. It's like the forest for the trees, because I meet so many intelligent people. I know they're just as smart as me, but what is the distinguishing factor between somebody getting it or not getting it? That's all you got to do. You got to get it, and you got to say in your heart, look, I might be wrong in my thinking here and there, but God, help me, correct my thinking, and let me be a person of honor and dignity and respect with a conscience. Let me have the right values, and above all, God, may your will be done. We've really got to trust in God. We've got to trust that God has control over life and death. That what Jesus did for us was not in vain, because what he did by dying on the cross and paying for our sins, which we all need that price paid for, we all need to rely strongly on the grace of God, and it's there for us. Thank God for that. We've got to be so grateful for the right things. But he also proved that God has the power of life and death, and that God can raise us up and give us new bodies. It's written that we're all going to be resurrected. I don't know about all the, reincarnation. I mean, who knows under certain circumstances? I think God can do whatever God wants, but I don't believe in reincarnation in the sense that, we're going to come back as a different creature, or we get to choose how we come back. I mean, do you think the elitists get to come back into another elitist family? I don't think God would do that. He's not saying, oh, you died a Rothschild, so I'm going to let you be born. I mean, that's like what the Rosicrucians believe. I don't believe any of that. I mean, it's more likely that he'll take some elitist that was a hypocrite that was way off track, and he's going to have them born in some third world country where they get the chance to be on the other end of the equation, for their own good, so that they can be a decent, upright human being of their own accord, their own free will, their own choice. That's so important, that we love God and seek God of our own free will. We do it because we want to do it, and by gosh, nothing's going to stop us from doing it. So Jesus raised from the dead. I believe that God has that power fully. I mean, remember again, this is a God that laid out the universe. This is a God that can do whatever he wants to do. And we've got to really try to understand, what is that thing? What's he trying to get through to us? He wants to seek his faith, seek understanding from him, so that we can be free, so that we can be happy. It's just like every human parent out there. Every human parent that's halfway in their right mind wants what for their children? They want the best for their children. They want everything for their children. They want them to be free. They want them to be happy and content. They want them to be prosperous and successful. They want them to be safe and secure. It's rational, it's reasonable, it's logical. It's what makes sense. And to think that our divine parents, this almighty creator God of the universe, wants anything but that, but what is purely good and right and holy and proper for us, is ridiculous to me. So we all really have got to give that some thought, and really understand how money is the root of all of our problems. It really is. Because we can contend with the natural disasters, the hurricanes and the tornadoes. You see how people rally around each other after a disaster. But on a day-to-day basis, see how we neglect each other's needs. Here in California, there's this huge push about, conserving water, and everybody's ripping out their lawns, and, they're giving it all kinds of media attention and showing how these are really the good people in your society really care about water conservation, with not a whisper about how, San Diego, for example, is turning sewer water into potable water. Or how Israel, that has desalinization units that they take water right out of the ocean and turn it into drinkable water. How we've had this technology is old, but they're not talking about it. How there's other ways we could save water. It's just ridiculous. But yet, when it comes to housing and letting people die out in the cold, and admitting as a civilized society that shelter is indeed, it is, by definition, a basic, essential human need. And yet, oh no, well, no, that problem's insurmountable. And even so many professed Christians I talk to, they say, oh, well, Jesus said the poor you will always have. So, you're too idealistic. You're getting too hung up on stuff you can't change and all this stuff. Well, you know what? At least I'm on record for saying, you know what? I'm not okay with it. And if I had my way, this is how it would be. And I'll tell you straight up, I believe the way I would have it is exactly the way he would have it. And that's all I really want. And I believe that if God was in control of the treasuries of this earth, the way it would be is unambiguous, okay? Very clearly, it would be freedom. not for some, but for all. That all of us are worthy to be free, okay, and secure, and to not fear any man for any reason. We shouldn't have to fear the Homeland Security